StormClan's Folly spoilers ahead. The largest frustration I have with the Super Edition is that it hates its supporting characters. Anyone who isn't Galestar or Stripestar barely matters. You'd think with the book being named after StormClan, you'd learn about several cats in the clan. But you really don't. So this video will be a rant on various cats in the book who appear but fail to receive any proper development. Whenever Warrior Cats drops us in a new time period, it is imperative that they make us care about a solid share of the cast as quickly as possible. It's simple world building. Into the Wild did this really well, with Ravenpaw, Graystripe, Spotted Leaf, Yellowfang, Blue Star, Tigerclaw. In the Sun Trail, we got Clear Sky, Jagged Peak, Turtletail, Tall Shadow, Storm. Blue Star's Prophecy gave us Snowfur, Thistleclaw, Goosefeather, Pinestar. In this book we get, well, Stripestar and Galestar don't count since they're the POVs. So maybe Pebblenose? And he leaves 40% of the way into the book. Shout out to Nifty Senpai's Warrior Cats design blog for having free to use artwork for some of the StormClan cats that I will use in this video. Pebblenose and Thrushcall are mates. Like the books actually say they're mates, meaning they are the second official gay pairing in Warrior Cats after Ravenpaw and Barley. But you would hardly be able to tell that by reading this book, because they only mention their closeness a couple of times, and then they both leave to join the tribe the moment it becomes somewhat official. And Thrushcall is given no personality in this book. He only acts either beside Pebblenose or in a group of cats discussing something. This book has the worst habit of characters popping in and out of existence just for the one or two scenes they want them for. Crowflight is Galestar's sister. She's at the gathering in the beginning of the book, then is only mentioned twice in the next 7 chapters, basically missing all the formation of StormClan and the fire that forces them to leave. Then she just reappears to have a dramatic argument about how she doesn't want Galestar to leave, and then Galestar leaves. Like, it's implied that we're supposed to care about their separation, but the book puts in zero work to establish that Crowflight mattered to Galestar. Then there's Grassfoot, Stripestar's brother, who is mentioned 4 times in the entire book. And there's no impact of him and Stripestar being separated at all, as he doesn't think of him a single time during the journey. Fogdrift is Stripestar's former mate, who Galestar accidentally kills in a WindClan ThunderClan battle at the beginning of the book. And I still don't understand why Stripestar needed a former mate, if she was just going to be killed off too early for us to be sad about it, and then the subject matter has absolutely zero friction on the Galestar-Stripestar romance. In fact, her death is only used to advance it more quickly. All it does is make Stripestar seem emotionless, because he barely gives her a second thought. He last thinks about her in Chapter 4, and then never remembers her again. In Chapter 21 they name a kid after her, but it's because Galestar remembered her. And in Chapter 32 she is mentioned again, but only because her spirit physically appears. Petalstep. She leaves StormClan during the journey, and the scene she does it is also the first time she is mentioned in the entire book. Like, this girl somehow managed to leave StormClan without ever being a part of it. She and Galestar had shared tongues, had hunted together, had fought side by side, more times than Galestar could count. Literally, when did they do that? They didn't show us any of that. We don't know who Petalstep is. Rosebush's entire character arc in this book is hurting his leg and then falling off a cliff because he can't jump because he hurt his leg. The Thunderpath scene where he hurts his leg is his first appearance in the book, so the entire purpose of his character is to be the injured cat you feel sorry for. And his mate Whitestep, her entire character arc in this book is that she was the mate of the cat who fell off a cliff. She also first appears in the scene where Rosebush gets hurt. She sort of has a role towards the end, being one of the voices in favor of returning to the clans, and then they make her ThunderClan's next leader. So she's the cat they were building up to be revealed as the big leader? The cat who is mentioned only 38 times, 52 less than Kestrelwing, who died 30% of the way into the book. Mudsplash appears in one scene where he is mentioned 4 times, and then the next scene he is in, he dies. And we get his character introduction after he's dead. Mudsplash had always been a quiet, serious cat. Like, how does this help us understand him? They say he fought beside them in the Sunning Rocks battle, but that battle is not a scene in this book. Before the battle, they just talk about Sunning Rocks, and then skip to the battle being over. Spotnose has kits. No wait, she doesn't have kits. But we only find that out because when they're talking about Mudsplash in the past tense, apparently he comforted her when they died. Which is also not a scene in this book. Rainkit is born and gets one scene to ride on Stripestar's back before being eaten by a hawk in the next scene before the chapter is even over. And then Fernwhisper, Huntheart, and their other two kittens leave StormClan immediately before the chapter ends. It's such lazy writing. The saddest part of having a death scene is the processing that other characters have to go through after the death happens. But the foremost impacted are ejected from the story. How are we supposed to care about Rainkit's death if she is killed off the same chapter they begin to develop her, and then her family just leaves? Like, if you deliberately separate the reader from every reason to care about a character's death, why include the character in the story to begin with? Tumbletail gets a single major appearance where he investigates garbage with Stripestar and has a run-in with a two-leg, which leads to him having twice as many mentions as ThunderClan's next leader, Whitestep. But hey, at least he gets to be deputy. Berryfall and Nettlesting could have been the exact same cat, and nothing would change. They're both calico she-cats, they never appear at the same time. The only difference between them is their clan. Hairwhisker, Peaktail, Swiftwing, Rough Pelt, others. There are quite a few cats with zero importance, but you need standard background cats somewhere, so I'm not complaining there. Flash is one of the only cats to get attention without being killed off immediately after, but also, his first appearance is him blinking into existence the moment the cats need help with two-leg kits approaching them. So it feels like they invented him as a character on the spot for this one scene. After the two-leg place section of the book, he manages to continue existing, but only as a background cat. Golden Leaf and Stoneflower were apparently StormClan medicine cats, but I literally could not tell you one thing about either of them as characters. The only supporting characters in this book I can say actually mattered were Kestrelwing, the old medicine cat who was there when SkyClan left, and has his wisdom completely ignored as he is forced on the journey and dies 30% of the way into the book. Then there's Pebblenose, who shares a good amount of skepticism towards Galestar's nonsense, but again, he's gone 40% of the way into the book. There's Bound Hunt. He's a major driving force for the conclusion of Galestar's story arc, but he's only present in the last 4 Galestar chapters, so in 7 out of 8 chapters he's not physically present. And Tinyclaw, Stripestar's deputy, is the only character that I would say matters that is also there for the entire book. She's often just an extension of Stripestar, and a method used to depict the divide between ThunderClan and WindClan, but she's definitely a functional character who serves an actual purpose in the story. Congratulations, StormClan's Folly, you have a single character to support your 2 main protagonists. And for some reason they don't let her be the leader or deputy of New ThunderClan, even though she was the most loyal cat the entire book. Overall, the lack of interest in characters just makes this book feel very bland. The most exciting aspect of a new point in the Warrior Cats timeline is having a new cast of characters, but instead the writers decided to devote the entire book to 2 cats already introduced in Ivypool's heart. It's very hard to imagine the writers wanting to come back to the StormClan time period anytime soon, because it really feels like their passion for creating this storyline started and ended with Galestar's PowerPoint presentation back in Ivypool's heart. They were so excited with the spectacle of a 2-leader forbidden romance that they failed to make any of the other characters matter. It's really sad that there's not a single cat in StormClan's Folly that could be a hook for a future storyline. Even the relationship of Pebblenose and Thrushcall, which should be a huge landmark for the series, can't amount to anything because they are left to live in the tribe instead of being part of the main story. My hope for the Warrior Cats team is that they can improve from this, and that in future super editions such as Darktail's Judgment, they can pick out 4 to 6 characters outside of Darktail to be really interesting and important to the book. Alright, bye everyone!